Sitting atop a Shrewsbury clock. Tick. Seth Thomas sits under the cat, quietly checking its springs and gears, measuring time against its elegant face, acknowledging that cat as an uneven beat to be chimed off at each hour and a half. In 136 years, hands never stop moving, never touching. A 3-year-old Russian blue, ignoring its throne of time, using its height to quietly wait for a mouse, all of 10.88 drams that will be played with before it is drunk of hiding behind baseboards. A pampered hunter predisposed that springs in his long legs, leaps in seconds. Russian blue, sitting high atop Seth Thomas, winding your springs and gears, waiting on a mouse. Who are you in comparison to where you are perched? What he is not is a Hemingway cat blessed with an extra toe, nor is he Freya's cat harnessed to her chariot rising like the wind. He is not the cat of Catazan, though he does love lamb roasted and shredded. He doesn't have Mary's mark between his eyes. He is not Nikomata. For the space of this minute, he has but one tail, at least for the length of today. Just a normal feline, furry cheeks puff out when he grins. He has his own chair, pillow, and collection of perfections. His human sleeps alongside him. Snore and purr crash in between night. He prepares shrimp and steak without lifting a finger. He owns the kitchen table. Bassett sits above the fireplace, draped with a golden collar, black as night. To his left, the blue takes the lead on stillness. In avoidance of excess, he wears original silver-tipped fur. Higher he sits, feeling age-old chimes, tail switching, hands moving. Underneath a sentinel's guard, he watches time slipping around. On the far wall is a cat-shaped clock with eyes shifting back and forth, pink and black, black and pink. Rhinestone numbers and painted on whiskers, a long pendulum tail clicking with each swing. And noteworthy of the cat's time, it never runs beyond that wall. A worthless, sponginger idler. A Russian blue sits atop the living room clock, that clock balancing on the marble mantel over the fireplace. If he could, that blue would leap higher than the ceiling, into the attic, onto the roof, claw down the chimney to get to that spot of superposition atop my mantel clock. He would, but he can't unless he finds a way to untangle time. Blues are climbers. He could leap from one bookcase to another, dragging Keats out of his bed and journeying with Homer, purring at butchers' floating heads. Anne Rice, he uses her binding to sharpen his claws. Take that, Lestat. That blue is well read. He enjoys the feeling of paper, to shred, to rest on, to give his opinion on the state of affairs. He will control the status of the house. Washing his face without hands. Vibrations from inside the clock, pondering on its occupant. He stands on his toes, tiptoeing into the future on top of that clock. One paw will stretch out and whack at its covered face. Those are his attempts at controlling time. A small wooden sewing machine chair becomes a stepping stone onto the mantel. It sits haphazardly in front of a tankless fish tank stand. Its occupant has long since swum on, emptiness and memories remembering its spacious, murky waters. Overpowered by a need to punch the clock on the fireplace mantel, the blue is drawn upward, calling him to leap from wood to marble, on his toes, a piece of wispy smoke, touching nothing, not even the green jade dragon, who promises him 9 lives. Watch him step gingerly over the lucky cat. Perched on rocks from Scotland's stream, one teeters atop another, in itself a shrine, butting shoulders with a warrior woman in a nearly naked state. She holds her weapon in immovable resin hands. The cat steps gingerly, giving her not the time of day. Passing pieces of this, a little more of that, the blue leaps silently, sailing right to the top of the mantel's clock. From his perch, he stops. Pointed ears, eyes round with an oriental slant, deeply golden green, outlined in black, eyes speaking of secret only meant for blues. Soft, thick gray velvet coat dipped in silver wrapped him in shadows. He waits, keeping an eye on what he can't see. A mouse slipping around the corner. It runs the length of one wall, stops, then darts across the wide expanse to a presidential chair leg, where it stands like a cartoon, breathing heavy, shaking off worry, checking its nails, before it scurries onto the far wall where it races into the kitchen. It is the telling hour for that Russian blue, when a nearly silent call to arms erupts as part growl, part purr. He sails off the mantel, onto the couch with a deep thud, sinking his paws in. 16th part of a minute of time. He stops to adjust his timing. He leaps over the coffee table, knocking down a cup, spilling time, sliding the news from the paper. Gone is the stealth he stole from the clock. He runs, striking the trash bin, riding the area rug into his water bowl. Water splashes and spills, making its way under the baker's rack, running off on its own agenda, a clepsydra dripping away time. Cat food rolls like marbles across the floor, its scent catching the attention of the mouse, fur with legs, twitching nose, a scurrying stomach. Does what a mouse does when confronted with food, enthralled as a piece skipping a beat pauses next to him. The mantel clock chimes the hour. A deeply heavy sound that leaves its mark, smoothly padding softly into the corners. Minutes late, it is time. Time to wind the clock with a number 11 key and a 10 crank 16 times. The cat doesn't care. He runs with his surprised mouse under the bed where he lets him go, then watches him run back along the baseboards. Time's light touch comes to a stop for the mouse. 16th part of a minute of time, then it slips away, 1/59th of a minute. Talk.